said, we want to shoot this book burning in the place where it really happened. There's this, and my producing partner, Paul Garns, who's a black man, we're going into Germany. Oh my God. We're going into Germany, and I said, we want to shoot this book burning in the place where it really happened. There's a square called Bibelplatz, and it's where the books were actually burned. Tens of thousands of books are burned. They were taken off the shelves by librarians, chosen as to what could be taught and what shouldn't be taught in this new Nazi regime. And
this is a black woman who is gay. And what she's saying she did is she went with another black person, also gay, and they flew to Deutschland. Fliege nach Deutschland. Yeah, well, I'm going to say in English. For the purpose of recreating a scene of book burning. Why? The better question is, why were books being burned? You're going to hear her say something right now that's very telling. According to Ava DuVernay, these were books about freedom. She wanted to say what it was. She corrected herself and said, books about freedom. No. What she means is books about sexual freedom for children. We'll go over it. We'll get to it. But I just want to show you how sick some of these people are. They might look cute. They got braids, light skin, they got their nails. Gay as all hell. There's no husband, there's no children. And they want your kids to join them in their quest, because you might look at her and think, oh yeah, that's a black woman. No, this is a gay person. Gays are not blacks. They're a completely separate group. Completely different minority, let them tell it. They have a different allegiance. They just cosplay because they were born a certain way. But the gay lifestyle is a choice. This is their ideology. This is their war that they're fighting against you. Your children are the soldiers. They're fighting against you for your family and for your family's future. The good thing is no one's listening to her for the most part. There are women that do, and they come out and they say, hey, my 2-year-old just told me that he's my daughter. So I think I'm about to just go and buy him a bunch of pink stuff and put barrettes in his hair, put lipstick on him, and take him to school. Maybe take him to a trans story hour and let other grown perverts throw money at him. That's what they do at these events, these trans events where they want to read books to your kid. Man, I wish my dad would have seen a man dressed as a woman try to read young baby Rico some books. Let you would have came across my dad. But what they do is they find women with no husbands, no man around, and she's already mentally ill. It's a lot of that. But let's just so you know, this is a gay person. It's not a black person. She just looks black. She looks like she belongs to that group, but no. She's a part of a bigger group, a stronger group, the group that controls the black group, the gay group. But look what she says about what type of books were burned. And I'm going to show you an example of the books that were burned.
They were brought over and they were burned. And many works, most works by Jewish authors, or anything that was forward, anything that was talking about
let's go ahead. Now we do know who, if you lived in Germany, and and this isn't a deep dive. This is a shallow dive. This is barely a swan dive. You don't got to dig that deep to see who were the authors of these trans and gay books for children in the 1930s Berlin, and what was Berlin in 1933. She's recreating a book burning. All we have to do is just, I don't know, go back through, we can just go down memory lane and see, well, what books were being burned in the 30s. But I'm going to let her finish. I hate to keep cutting her off. Is that this is just it's so sick. But it's good that I can talk about it with you. There's not a lot of people on here. It's just me and you talking right now. So, but listen to what she says.
Over and they were burned. And many works, most works by Jewish authors, or anything that was forward, anything that was talking.
You catch what she said. Anything that was forward. I mean, what she went to say was forward thinking. Any books that were progressive and forward thinking. In the year 1933, what types of books would a Jewish author in Dreieich in Germany, what would a Jewish author have considered forward thinking? Matter of fact, what is forward thinking a buzzword for in the year 2025? Forward thinking is a buzzword for sexual liberation for just women. No, they're talking about kids.
About freedom, basically.
Freedom, basically. So she's over there in Germany going over book burnings on freedom. Now, why isn't the biggest part of her whole little spiel here going into the gritty details about which books were being burned and why? Why isn't that the number one thing she's discussing? Do you see how fast she glanced over the content of these books? I swear to God, this is like, you cannot write this on this. This is like incredible. Look how fast she glanced over why the books that she's there. She's doing a whole book burning thing, and the only one thing they don't want to talk about is what was in the books. She won't even give you any details. Watch, listen, one more time.
And many works, most works by Jewish authors, or anything that was forward, anything that was talking about freedom, basically.
Freedom. That's what they were talking about. Freedom.
All that stuff was burned. No internet. No backup. No, you burned this one, but I got a digital copy over here. Gone. And so we went to the real place and said, we want to do that scene there. Right?
Why wouldn't you go to the real place and say, hey, can I see a copy of or some literature on the books that were being burned? Why not ask about those?
Right there. So imagine us, two Black folk. We roll up. He's from Chicago. I'm from Compton, right? We roll up and we're like, hi. Hi, we're African Americans. We did a film called Selma, and we would like to shoot here in the real place. And they were like, okay. So they're like, this monument, this real sacred space? Yes. And also, we would like to have just a couple thousand extras. And they're like,
If racism was as prevalent as this race hustler, professional victim, piece of trash lesbian is telling us, if racism was so prevalent, why would the Germans say yes to any of her requests or her demands, or say, yeah, you guys can film it. We'll help you find some extras. We'll recreate this. I lived in Germany for a while. It's an embarrassing part of history, not necessarily because people are ashamed about what happened. It's because they're embarrassed that the people in charge of their society are too weak to correct people about what happened. Now, have they tried Germany again? No. Is the gay population in Germany skyrocketing? No. Have Jews just in mass returned back to Germany? No. It went to Israel. For some reason, even though Germany has been cut down, it's being destroyed and deindustrialized as we speak right now, they haven't went back there to turn it back into the gay mecca of Europe like it used to be in 1933. So we're going to go ahead and, well, I guess we'll let her finish. It's another minute and 15 seconds. We'll let her finish her BS about why, you're just going to notice it's what people don't say that you got to pay attention to. And she doesn't say, well, the whole thing you're shooting is about the book burnings, but there's nothing about the books. In my opinion, that's a red flag, but let's go.
Those soldiers, they're like, I said, I know it's illegal to fly the swastika here, but we'll need several around. And also, we're going to light a big fire and burn some fake books. And they said yes. So we shot that in the real place. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. And And be prepared. Be prepared to talk about why and show the.
Yeah, her victimhood card just got. She can't use it right now. It doesn't. They don't accept those credits.
Plan and the safety plan and all of those things. So we shot that with 5 cameras on one night. This book burning, and it was incredibly poignant because this book, Cast, the book by which this film is inspired, is a banned book in many parts of this country. What do you mean it's a banned? It's a banned book in many states. This cannot be taught in schools, and it's been taken off bookshelves.
Why? What's in the book Cast? I got to pull it up right here. We can read about it together, but let's see if she talks about it and give us some details. See what she says. Because if you're versed in this topic, right, and this is your expertise, and you're there with the person who made the book, you're working with these people, I'm sure you're knowledgeable about it, right?
This book Cast that came out in 2020. So it's something we really need to put our attention on, because this is happening right now. They might not be burned, but they are not on the shelves, and we're not far away from these things having, in the film there's a quote that says, one who burns books won't have a problem burning men. And so
it depends on what the man did. I'm sorry. Crimes against children, burn them. Crimes against women, burn them. Depending on what the crime is, I'm 100% for burning the men. Society has to be protected from certain people, or we don't have a society. Letting people like her convince you to let down your guard so that just anybody can just run in your society and do whatever they want, that's how you lose everything. That's how you have all the problems we have now. That's how there's no more. That's how Lake and Riley is no longer on Earth. That's just one example. There's millions. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other examples just over the past few years. You can't just let anybody run into a society. So no, depending on what's inside the man's heart and his mind, burn them. And depending on what's inside the book, burn it. I'm very much pro book burning, depending on the content of the book. She didn't go over the content of the book for the book she's talking about, Cast. She also didn't go over the content of the context of the books that were burned back in the 30s. I have that responsibility, so I'll go over it with you. I have something else pulled up that actually, let me see here. This is a good one. Let her finish.
So it's really important for us to see the correlations between that. This happened in Nazi Germany. We saw where it ended. And so it's important that we keep an eye on what's happening now.
Okay, so what year, class, what year were the book burnings in Germany? In the 1930s. I said 33, if I'm being specific. Yeah, May 10th, 1933. University students burned 25,000 books, the works of Jewish authors. Sigmund Freud. Does anybody remember what kinds of books Sigmund Freud was writing about? And you got to think about it. They're mentioning these other people, Ernest Hemingway, Helen Keller. These were people who were sympathizers for those who were supporting the authors of those books. But what kind of books were they? Books on transgender history. What the hell is transgender history? Why does that need to be in a school with children? Transgender children's books. These are at your child's school. In My Daddy's Belly is an example. This is a book that I would burn and I would cook marshmallows over. I would make s'mores on top of this book. these books I would burn for heat. I would burn them for fun. Gender identity for kids. This I'm Not a Girl, a transgender story. Bye binary. Have you talked to a child lately? Are you understanding where the confusion is coming from? Why your son is pretending to be your daughter, why your friends' kids are gay. I remember when I was growing up, right? My mom had a friend named Donna. And Donna had a son that was kind of flamboyant, but not really. And he was my friend. I thought he was a cool dude because he had all the girls. He knew every girl. I'm like in 6th grade, 7th grade. He knew a bunch of girls. And my cousins and people make fun of me, like, you're hanging out with that one boy. And I'm like he's a cool dude. Like, he knows a bunch of, he's not gay. He just acts like it so he can meet girls. And they were like, nah. My mom eventually caught me sneaking a girl into the house. And she was really upset because we had family visiting, and it was like this big, huge deal for like 5-10 minutes. And anyway, I walk out of my bedroom. They knew I had somebody there. I snuck her out through the window, and I walk into the living room, and there's like a bunch of people visiting from out of town, at my family's house. And everyone's looking at me. The men are like smiling, but the women are all frowned up. And then here comes my mother, ready to go crazy on me. And anybody knows Spanish women with fiery tempers or whatever. And she walks up to me and she's like going in. And then the only thing that came to my mind was the only thing I said. And I said, well, at the time, I think I'm like 16 or 17. And at that age, you don't know what your kids are. They live with you, but, I didn't live with her for very long. I was only living with her for a short period of time. I lived with my dad. So she didn't really know me that well, but for all she know, I could have been gay. That was the first time she knew for sure I wasn't. Instead of her celebrating and being happy, she used it as a time to kind of get mad at me. And I just looked at her in front of everyone and I said, what, would you rather me be like Donna's son? Would that be better? Should I sneak a boy into the house? Is that your preference for your son? And magically, I was no longer in trouble. There was one gay kid. I knew no other kids that were confused about gender, sexuality. There was none of that going on when I was a kid in the 2000s. Now, with these types of books being introduced into the curriculum starting in kindergarten, by the time your kid is in 8th, 9th grade, are you now understanding why some of these kids are now saying they're non-binary when we don't even know what the hell that means? I don't know. I don't do pronouns. I have a hard enough time with adverbs. There's no way I'm doing a pronoun. These are the books that your kids, that they're pushing to stop being banned. This lesbian Black woman wants you to stop getting these books banned. She goes a step further. Talks about a book called Caste. A book written by somebody who's never lived or went through any of the things they're talking about. So it's basically a nonfiction novel. He's better off, in my opinion, writing a book about a planet that he's never been to in a part of space that no one's ever seen or knows exists in another universe, in another dimension. That's how disconnected these people are. Is when they're writing books about race and racism and they explore America's original sin of slavery that haunts us today in virtually all of our institutions. That's the thing I talk about all the time, how these people that look like her, they have a mental illness. But see, that's where the two communities merge, the gay community and the Black community. They both have this thing where they think that there's like an imaginary straight white man who torments them every day, virtually in all institutions. A man who's trans or who's gay, if they're into children, which they all get caught with kiddie porn and doing stuff with children or whatever. They have a lot of these issues. Not saying they all are, but there's a lot of that. It's a huge problem in that community. There's even a whole movement called Gays Against Groomers for a reason. That doesn't exist for nothing. They think that the fact that they can't just go out and talk to kids and groom them and pick them up and do whatever they want to with kids, that there's a straight white man who's oppressing them and stopping them from having a right to do so. Because see, they have all the same rights as regular Americans, right? But what they're saying is that when they're saying we're fighting for our rights, there's just one right that they don't have, because they'll be arrested, and that's the right to have sexual access to children. That's the only right we're stepping on. And we're preventing them, and we're actually locking them in jail for it. So it's like, in a way that, and if Harris would have won the election, not soon before long, it would have came out that you can't really arrest somebody for their sexuality. And if being a minor attractive person, which is a map, if a map is a sexual orientation, then to arrest somebody for their sexuality would go against the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which protects your sexuality. So that's why they try to muddy the waters. There are people like myself, like our beloved president, who will now put a stop to that. We're not going to let it happen. Just because you will, because you're afraid and you don't pay attention, and you're worried about yourself and you don't care about tomorrow, you don't care about the future, you're not going to have kids, you're not going to have a family, you don't give a damn about what happens to the country. Just because you don't mean that there's not men like me who do. That's where we come from. This is where we come in. We're here to stop the lies and the propaganda. So let's go into the 1930s, and let's go ahead and read about what happened in Weimar Germany, Berlin, Germany, Nazi Germany. Let's go ahead and talk about it. The transgender experiences in Weimar Germany and Nazi Germany. Before 1933, Germany was the center of LGBT plus community and culture, with several renowned organizations serving and supporting trans and gender non-conforming people. Oh, you thought San Francisco was the Mecca, right? You thought it started in Frisco. You had no idea what Hitler was up against or why he came into existence, why he was forced into existence. Hitler's Nazi Germany government, however, brutally targeted the trans community, deporting many trans people to concentration camps and wiping out vibrant community structures. Now, wait a minute. You know, last time that I checked, I thought they put somebody else in the concentration camp. So wait a minute. It seems like in a roundabout way, they're saying that those two communities are both one and the same. She low-key said, what'd she say?
Freedom, basically. Not over. Many works, most works by Jewish authors. Jewish concentration camps, but also the trans community and gay community were targeted. It sounds like it's the same fight that we're fighting right now. I don't look at this as a Democrat-Republican thing. I look at this as a globalist cabal of gay men who are at the top that are restructuring the world in their image. That's why you're seeing the gay and trans push, and they want your kids. I'm watching the fight happen every day. You think the Ukraine and Russia is the only proxy war? There's proxy wars going on everywhere, and this is the main one that's affecting our society. So let's go back to it. As transgendered people are now increasingly targets of discriminatory legislation and hate, join the museum for a program exploring these stories and experience prior to and during the Holocaust. So is it me, or is this author saying that the Holocaust was actually about something else? Now, I've never read this whole article. I like to read. I don't do all these things before
I talk to you guys. I try to do it with you. We can both explore this and learn about it together. This is insane. They actually have like a little video. Let's play a little bit of it, shall we?
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Was published in 2017. Rabbi Marisa Ilana James, who will be serving as our moderator this afternoon, is the Director of Social Justice Programming at Congregation Beit Simchat Torah.
Social justice, transgender, gay flags, no children, lesbians, and they all hate Hitler. They all hate Trump. Why? Well, it seems like they both posed as like hurdles in their of their path to having direct access to children. Anybody it seems that that in a way blocks their access to children for these devious reasons is considered a NIZI. The books that they were burning are the books that people like this were creating. Books about LGBTQ and the sexualization of children. Let's see here. Books on sexualizing children, Nazi Germany. There was actually an author who wrote books on sexualizing children's sexuality and sexualization. There's actually a Das Sexualisieren des Kinder. Das Sexualisieren des Kinder. These were all books from long ago. Pedophilia, hepaphilia, and sexual offending against who in the normal public sphere would know that there was so much literature about sexualizing children, sexual children. How many people knew that when the people they were putting in those camps were people that targeted children, that were LGBTQP? We know what the P stands for. We know what the plus stands for. PDF. All of this was about children. Right now, Jim Jordan and other senators are pressuring Kash Patel to go after anybody that was putting these parents on FBI watch lists because they would show up to school board meetings to protest because they were pushing these books, this ideology secretly onto kids behind their parents' backs. These books are causing confusion in children. You don't understand. Confusion leads to self-deletion, suicide. These kids that are confused about sexuality and gender, they do not live for long. They do stuff to themselves because they feel like they have to start over again and just, with a clean slate. Especially if you're manipulated into thinking that you're one way as a boy. As you grow up and become a man and have children, you're ashamed and embarrassed that somebody had you doing all kind of weird, twisted things with other boys or dressed up as a woman, and now you're past that phase and you realize what was happening to you. They pray, just like they say the Nazis did not want autistic children, they would sterilize them. What do you think it is when they tell an autistic kid that you're not actually autistic, you're trans? What's one of the first things they want you to do when you're trans? And they want you to start taking hormone therapy where your body stops growing. You have a micro penis and it sterilizes you. So the parallels between the Third Reich and the current LGBTQP movements, they parallel, because at the end of the day, they're back to just sterilizing autistic people who are targeting children. These are the types of books that need to be burned, and actually the printers that are making these books should be burned as well. When they talk about, well, if you could burn a book, you could burn a person, the people who are creating these books, who are targeting children for mutilation, should be also burned as well. Do me a favor, like and subscribe, share this video, memory hold it. This is a very important topic. Some books should be burned. All of these books should be burned. They shouldn't be here. But at least now you can go ahead, and I'm going to share this link in the description of the video today. And you can see the link on X, on the Club Rico podcast, Safe and Effective podcast on my X. And you'll see it in the description. But this is a very important book, and I just shared the link here, so you should be able to follow it and see for yourself. Amazing. And how can anybody argue or defend this to me? I'm available for conversations if anybody wants to have one. If you're on X, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, or you're on YouTube and you want to have a debate with me about why this should be allowed and why this was wrong for this, because now we're starting to know the truth of what happened back in Germany. That this isn't the truth that they didn't want to tell us. Maybe this is the truth that Kanye West is referring to. Maybe there's more going on than we know. And now you're finding out that there's actually gay stories from the Holocaust. What the? Look, like and subscribe. We can go over this some more. I just wanted to at least get this first video out, and we'll talk about this topic in nauseam later. If you're watching it on Rumble, share the video. If you're watching on Instagram, or do me a favor on YouTube, if you guys don't mind, clicking the link in my bio and just liking the YouTube page. And that way we can have more subscribers. It's a new page, so I'm trying to build it up. But yeah, we'll talk more about these topics. Hopefully this video doesn't get banned too, but you never know. I mean, we are stopping this. Remember, anybody that blocks their direct access to children is removed and labeled all kinds of things. So, but anyway, I go into detail and talk about them, so I don't worry about it. So thank you, and follow, like, subscribe, and talk to you soon. Cheers.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.